I'd like to ask you a little bit about your research, which you
Yes.
presented in, is it 2017, Islam and Sexuality by two Latin American converts in the US. Can you talk a little bit about that and what was your key findings, or what was the response from the other sex educators and sex
Yes,
therapists
my
at the
research
conference in
began
Prague?
actually when I converted myself to Islam. We had moved back to Los Angeles and was looking for a community and found a community in South Central LA. That was my community. Shout out to Islam Academy. They are the wonderful community that was so welcoming of me. And it was interesting as a sex therapist, when I went into that community as a newly Muslim woman, I was so embarrassed to share that I was a sex therapist. I will admit that. I didn't know how the community would accept me. And what I found in this community is there was a lot of openness and curiosity and desire for education. So I started doing groups at my mosque and started doing sexual health workshops. So it really created this need and niche. And what I found that there's not, from the community and from other communities that I then reached out to, is that no one's interested or offering sex education for these women. So that's what started the research. And then I have my wonderful colleague, Nia, who was part of my research, who was also working in communities as a Latin American convert. And so we joined forces and said, let's create something that we can then take and offer to different communities, and even have communities offer for their communities, and co-facilitate this space for women to learn about sex. And that's really how it began. And so we did everything from surveys just to get general information on what are the topics. Because I'll be honest, when I did my first group, it was just kind of a, let's go for it and see how it goes. We had women from 17 to 71. And the biggest feedback I got was, we probably need to separate this out into different issues for different age groups, especially conservative women, obviously, that are pre-marriage and haven't quite sort of stepped into what those sexual needs may be. So that's really what began the research. And it was so healing for me too as a convert, because I come from a Catholic background, and going into Islam and sort of understanding, how do I communicate about these topics? What is acceptable? What are the things that people learn? And again, language and all of that information, which, by the way, your book helped me a lot with interpretation of, again, what some of these texts and scholars have said over years and years, and understanding pleasure from an Islamic perspective. So that was part of why I felt it was important to do this research. So presenting it at the World Association of Sexology was wonderful. We got really great positive reception and a lot of support, and that felt great. Again, a community that not a lot of people are reaching out to, or maybe don't know how to broach the subject of sexuality, and just kind of going in there. And my model was an integrated model. So it was also about, it's not just talking about it, but really the whole mind-body approach. How can we teach women about sexuality in not only a fun way, an informative way, but from, again, mind, body, heart, and soul? How do we bring that into our understanding of sexuality and make it a little bit of fun at the same time?
Amazing. And I loved what you said. I read the abstract about of that paper where you mentioned you believe it's essential for sex therapists to understand the culture and religion of their clients, and to provide them with a safe environment to explore their needs. Yeah, that's amazing. Is that something that you've come across? That I'm just wondering, are many therapists taught about the importance of culture and religion of their clients, in terms of having empathy and understanding how that may impact their
Not enough.
understanding
I mean,
of
it's kind of
sex
like
and sexuality?
sexuality education. They may get one course on, multicultural counseling and cultural issues. Not enough, because I hear so many stories of clients that may have, a therapist made a passive comment or made them feel unsafe, or created a little bit of shame, or challenged their beliefs, especially around sexuality. I've had many conservative clients come in and say, I wanted to cancel this appointment because I thought, if anything, you were going to make me do something I didn't want to do, or change my beliefs around something. So I found it was really important to make someone feel that their beliefs were understood, And even if I don't know much about that background, to be curious about it, because religion has been such a big part of my work. My first sex addiction clinic, we had a very large Orthodox Jewish population in terms of treatment. I worked in a clinic that was primarily Mormon women and couples. And so again, it's important for us as clinicians to say, how can I work with this and understand and be curious about this culture so we can blend that into healthy sexuality in a way that makes sense for this individual without creating, again, normalizing it or imposing models that may turn people off to sexuality, but instead help them embrace it at their pace in a way that feels aligned with who they are in their cultural and spiritual beliefs. So that's really important. And I wish there were more training. I mean, I hope that even this discussion may help us to kind of think of how do we help clinicians. I do a lot of education for clinicians around sex therapy, sexology, clinical sexology, but I really do believe that cultural and religious piece is missing from our training and field, unfortunately.
Letting people know where they can contact you. You know, this is your sales pitch. Please plug in anything that you've got going, any kind of, all your services,
Absolutely.
or where people can find you.
All social media platforms at Dr. Shannon Chavez, and my website, drshannonChavez.com, and my practice is shapecenter.org. So that's where you can get information about my practice and my team of clinicians and what we do and all of our expertise. So please, I also offer a complimentary phone consult. So if people are kind of curious, is coaching for me? Should I do sex therapy? We offer a phone consult to kind of direct you to what might be a good service or to help you find one in your area. I also have many colleagues and a great network. So if we can't help you, we will definitely help you find someone who can. So yes, thank you again. I mean, I'm
Amazing.
such a fan of yours.
Amazing.
And this is such an honor. And anytime you want to talk about sexuality and religion, I'm here.